Good morning, everybody. I am your instructor, Pierre Huey, aka Mr. P. Today is Tuesday, October the 22nd. We are doing your Barber Theory study, and today we are going to talk about hair care services. Okay, all the information that you need to find me, get in touch with me. I help people pass the Barber Theory. Help people pass their barber practical, all that good stuff. If you need to find me, I'm at Pierre Huey, Pierrehouey on all social media platforms. Send me a message if I can help you, all that good stuff. Okay. All right. So we are going to get into it. I had a request for things involving chemical services, chemical texture services. This actually falls under the hair care. The hair care services domain of the 4 domains of the South Carolina Barber Theory test. Okay. I think he's on here. If not, when he gets on here, we'll double back if we got to. All right. We're going to talk about permanent waves today. We're going to talk about the perm rods, end papers, wrap techniques, all that good stuff. Okay. And basically, I usually keep it very, very short, 15 to 20 minutes, closer to 15 minutes. So let's get started. Good morning, Lisa. Good morning, brown skin girl. Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right, permanent waving. You can't talk about the perm rods until you talk about permanent waving. And by the way, permanent waving is a different chemical process than relaxers. They are 2 separate things. A lot of times people use the word perm to refer to relaxers when that is not what's going on, okay? Permanent waving is a process that involves 2 principal actions on the hair. Number 1, physical action of wrapping the hair on the perm rods. And 2, a chemical action caused by the changes of the waving solution and the neutralizer. Permanent waves performed on hair that has been freshly shampooed and is uniformly damp. A spray water bottle must be used to maintain even wetness throughout the hair during the wrapping procedure. Margie, good morning. Good morning. Okay. Perm rods and permanent waving. The size, the shape, and the type of curl are determined by the size, shape, and type of perm rod and the method used to wrap the hair. The size and the shape of the rod determines the size of the curl. The proper selection of perm rods is essential for a successful permanent waving. The most commonly used rods are made of plastic. I have seen situations where people have used different rods in the test and they have gotten points taken away from them because they didn't realize what type of rods they were using. They were using like a metal type of rod and things like that. You would be surprised these judges notice all this stuff when you're taking your test. Now that's for the practical, but right now we're talking theory. I'm just throwing that little piece of information out there for you. All right. First, let's talk about the perm rod diameter. Diameter of the rod controls the size of the curl. These diameters usually vary from 1/8 of an inch to 1.5 inches. I have seen that. What's up, E? You supposed to be at work, E. The diameters usually vary from 1/8 of an inch to 1.5 inches. The hair used in the subsection must be wrapped at least 1.5 times around the rod to create a curl formation. If I were you guys studying for my theory test, particularly my master hair care theory test, I would highlight that one. That is medium to higher percentage right there. Okay. Perm rod lengths. Rods are available in lengths that typically measure from 1 3/4 inches to 3.5 inches. Perm rod lengths are known as short, medium, long. Basically, anytime you go to a beauty supply store and you look at the perm rods, you can pretty much see the difference. You can tell which one would be the short perm rods, the medium perm rods, the long perm. It's pretty self-explanatory. Okay. All right. Oh yeah. That's right. You're right. Perm rod shapes. You have concave rods, straight rods, bender rods, and circle or loop rods. Let's talk about each one of those. Okay. All right. Concave rods. Most commonly used perm rod. They have a smaller diameter in the center, which gradually increases to a larger diameter at both ends. This shape produces a tighter curl in the center and a larger curl on the sides of the hair, on the sides of the hair parting, resulting in a more natural wave. Concave rods used when a definitive wave pattern close to the head is desired. All right, next, going to straight rods. They have a uniform circumference and diameter along the rod's length. This type of rod creates a consistently sized wave from one side of the hair parting to the other. And large straight rods are usually used for a body wave that serves as a foundation for further styling. That's where that comes from. When somebody sits down and says, hey, I want a body wave, that goes to get the straight rods, get the large straight rods. Okay. Bender rods. They're made of stiff wires covered by soft foam that permits bending into a variety of shapes. These rods measure about 12 inches in length and have a uniform diameter. And a lot of times stylists will use bender rods when they're trying to go for a more creative effect, when they're trying to go for, say, they're trying to combine styles, especially when they're dealing with curls. They tend to use the bender rods to kind of bend it into shape. And another thing that I noticed that people would use bender rods for is if somebody has I don't want to call it weird, but a unique head shape, when it's like, all right, cool, we can achieve this effect, but how are we going to achieve, like, say somebody head is flatter at the top and rounder on the sides. Okay, you can still get a certain type of curl, but you're going to use bender rods to kind of account for that. Okay. What's up, young lady? Thank you for liking the live. How you been doing? All right, then you got circle or loop rods. The circle tool or the loop rod is a plastic coated tool that also measures about 12 inches with a uniform diameter along the length of the rod. These rods are secured by fastening the ends together to form a circle. All right, so now that we know about the different types of permanent wave rods, let's talk about the end papers. Let's talk about the wraps, because that comes next in the process. Okay, end wraps. Absorbent papers used to control the ends of the hair when wrapping and winding the hair on perm rods. End papers should extend beyond the ends of the hair to keep them smooth and straight and to prevent fish hooks. A fish hook is a flaw in the wrapping that results in the tip of the hair bending in the opposite direction to that of the rest of the curl. End papers are especially effective in helping to smooth out the wrapping of uneven hair lengths. For very uneven lengths, you may use multiple end wraps up the hair strand to control the hair. All right, so let's talk about that for a second. So any of my students, when y'all are taking your practical and you have a judge or a proctor looking at your technique when you do this, they are looking for that very notion. They are trying to see, are you going to extend those end wraps past the hair to prevent the fish hook? One of the parts of the test, especially in South Carolina, for the practical, they will have a part of the section when you're doing chemical waving. They will tell you to unwrap one of the curls and take the papers off. They are looking for the fish hook to see if you use the end paper properly or to the standard that they are looking for. Okay, that's why that exists, and that certain technique. That's why they put so much importance on it to the point where they will individually, let's say you got 15 people taking the practical, 15 people doing the permanent waving part. All right, so let's say you take your section of hair, you pull it up, you got your end wraps, and I like using two. So instead of just using one and folding it over, sometimes it makes for a weird process, and then it don't even fold the way you need it to fold. So I just use two separate perm wraps, right? Okay. When they do that, they're going to walk to all 15 people individually to make sure that you did that technique correctly. And the reason being is, if you don't, and let's say you're doing that service on a customer and they have fish hooks, that's going to reflect in the style. Like, that's almost like me doing, say, trying to do a perfect afro, and then it's still split ends and wild hairs everywhere. All right, what's the point of the technique if the style is not going to reflect what they want and what they're trying to do. Okay. All right. Most common end paper wrapping techniques are the bookend wrap, the single flat wrap, and the double flat wrap. Bookend wrap uses one paper folded in half over the ends of the hair, like I just said. Not my favorite. It can be used with short rods or short lengths of hair. Be careful to distribute the hair evenly over the entire length of the rod and avoid bunching the ends together toward the center of the rod. The single flat or single end wrap uses one paper placed over the top of the hair parting that's being wrapped. Because there is paper on only one side of the hair, it may be difficult to control the hair using this method. I don't like that one at all. We're required to do a double flat wrap on stay board. Yeah. I'll say this: they're not required as far as the master hair care for the barber side, but they give the most points for doing the double flat wrap. All right, so let's talk about it. The double flat or double end wrap uses two end papers, one placed under and one over the parting of the hair being wrapped. Both papers should extend beyond the hair ends. And not only that, while we're talking about it, another thing too is making sure that the hair is saturated properly. So when the hair is saturated properly, the double wrap technique is very, very easy. It's very effective. Very quick too. How you doing, Jimmy? Very quick to get it done. So a lot of times, again, that's other things that you don't know that the proctor is looking at, that they're looking at. Because if you do a double wrap and you have a problem, that means either your technique is wrong or you didn't saturate properly, which is another part, another subsection of that part, to where they'll say, okay, we want you to show saturation, but you got to saturate the hair to begin the process anyway. So you got two instances of saturation that you might think you're only dealing with one when you're really dealing with two. Okay. Anything else that I want to go here? Yeah, we can do that. All right, cool. So we're going to talk about suggested base sections and rod sizings. Okay. And then that will complete our study for today. Okay. We're going to talk about 4 textures: coarse, medium, fine, damaged. You got density, thick, average, thin, average. Okay. So we're going to go through texture, density, elasticity, base section, and the diameter of the rod. If you have coarse hair, or you're doing this service on coarse hair, thick density, good elasticity, you need a narrow base and you need a large rod. If the texture is medium, average density, and normal elasticity, you need a smaller base and a medium rod. As far as the diameter, that's what I'm talking about. Large, medium, small, large. That's what we're talking about with diameter of the permanent wave rod. Okay. All right. If you have fine hair, thin density, poor elasticity, you need a smaller base for your parting. You need a small diameter for your perm rod. And if you have damaged hair, typically if somebody has damaged hair trying to get a permanent wave, I would refuse service. But let's say we go there. Okay. You have damaged hair, average density, very poor elasticity, meaning it doesn't really stretch when it's wet. Okay. You need a smaller base section and you need a large diameter. Okay. All right. That puts us at just under 15 minutes. And today was our Tuesday study, general public study. If you ever want private study where we go over very specific topics, we go over what I call high percentage topics, things that have a 75% chance or higher of being on your test. That's the part that you pay for. You got to pay a premium for that, but it is available. I'm not busting you over the head, but you are going to pay. Okay. With that being said, you can find me anywhere at Pierre Huey, Pierrehouey on all social media platforms. You can send me a text, a DM, you can send me a message, all that good stuff. I tend to respond as fast as humanly possible. So usually within an hour, if I see it, upon me seeing it, okay? Usually within an hour upon me seeing it, I respond. But yeah, anybody that need help, if you or anybody that you know needs help passing their Barber Theory, I'm your guy, okay? And then we go from theory. I help with the practical. That's going to be a different version of my courses. But theory tends to be the toughest one. And I tend to be into this book all the time. All right. I look at it every day. So if you can use me, you know to find me. That has been our 15 minutes. I'm your instructor, Pierre Huey, aka Mr. P. The P is for patience and pass this test. Okay? Y'all have a good day. Peace.